inviting me along today. It's really nice to be here. My name's Yvonne Ramsey. First of all, I'm a kinship carer of my now 16-year-old granddaughter, who I cared for nearly 16 years, 5 months old when I took care of her due to my oldest daughter's long-term drug misuse. Through that, a great number of years, struggling with issues to do with my daughter and my granddaughter. She also went on to have 2 other children who I couldn't care for. They went into care. Many issues. And through the years, up till she was about 9, looking for support out in the community, so what's available. Found it very difficult to find anything until I found Simpson House and the Sunflower Garden Project, and obviously my granddaughter getting involved there, and a great benefit from that. On from that, a group of grandparents prior to me coming on board had got together, and we set up, through a matter of time, the Kinsfolk Carers charity for kinship carers, supporting kinship carers, but obviously in turn it's supporting, helping them try to support the children that they care for, making many referrals to signposting to other agencies to try and get as much help as they can for these people. Because as I say, I think you heard me saying in the quote that I says to Jardin, is that a lot of these carers, and we have had over 7 years, nearly 900 kinship, believe it or not, 900 kinship carers through our doors or visiting them in their home. Now, all these kinship carers are in the Edinburgh, we're talking about the Edinburgh area here. This is what our organisation only affiliates to Edinburgh. But these kinship carers care from kids who have come from, not just Edinburgh, but come from Glasgow and other parts of Scotland. So it's about, as I say, the role is supporting the kinship carers. And we, as you can imagine, the role that we've played in that has increased greatly. The numbers have quite accelerated. We were always told by professionals that, kinship care would take off, and we have been quite startled about the extent and the rate that has happened. And majority of the children that these kinship carers care for is, substance misuse. It is mostly, that is the area that they're dealing with. The carers are dealing with not only their siblings and the issues that they have, but they're also dealing with the children as well. And that can be, the family dynamics can be, very difficult and complex for them to deal with. A lot of kinship carers are single parents. They're on their own. They're elderly. Majority of them that we see are elderly. A lot of children now have come into kinship care very quickly. There's been very little planning, so there's many issues to do with the basic needs of these children to begin with, and obviously to do with contact, to do with many schooling, many things that have to change as soon as these children come into the kinship care with the grandparents or other family members. And the many issues that these carers face, they feel isolated. Nobody's, they're being more or less told. Many of these carers are looking for basic needs and basic helps for these kids, and it's just not available there. They're being told, there's not the help there. So it's like coming back to groups like myself, our group, to try and resource anything we can for these carers and in turn for these children. There used to be a day when we used to say that kinship carers who cared for children who were what they would call on supervision orders, who were on residence orders through Section 11s, that we felt that these children were sort of, they'd been through the system and they were left, and, these carers were abandoned to get on with it. But I would say that even with the children within the system, within kinship care, they too, because of the lack of resources, because of the lack of needs that's, just not there, these children too are now, we're seeing, things have been overlooked. Over the years, there's been many, obviously, the strategy for kinship care and foster care and, things to do with Scottish Government. There's many other agencies who, along with Simpson House, who have got involved, Mentor UK, to do with kinship care. I know there's a brochure available now to explain all the different strategies, things like that. We have always tried to be in the forefront of all that, and, in there is a national body that was set up for kinship care in Glasgow. It didn't get off too great, but it's now just very recently, coming off the ground again. So that is a huge, thing that is really, really needed, because these people feel so isolated and the impact of, what they're going through. They feel that there's very, very little support out there as well. I think, as I was saying earlier on as well, the kinship carers feel that when they are in that role where they're trying to support the sibling, and they feel very torn, and sometimes feel that they're not getting enough information, and they feel like they're not doing enough to help the sibling, and they're in a role of caring for these children who may have been through trauma, many things, and they're trying to do this balancing act, holding everything together. Very, I've been there myself, so I know what it's like. It's a lot of stress, a lot of strain, and it's very difficult for people to understand all that as well. I think sometimes it can be quite overwhelming for people to take, and to accept that, surely they would get some support, surely there'd be some help, but sadly in a lot of cases that's not the case. Through the work that we do at Kinship Carers, we have now a committee of 20, actually. It used to be 14. We went for 6, 14, now it's 20. The group is growing, and it's changing. We, at the moment, are going through a lot of changes, a lot of things that are going on. We are seeing the carers that we seen 5 years ago, whose kids were 8 and 9, and this is a relief that they're coming to the stage now where the kids are getting older. They may be on long-term placements now. That's not in-term kinship care. We see very, very quickly in in-term ones that it's given about 3 months and then it's moved to long-term. Very quickly that's happened, more so recently. But a lot of the cases where it's a long-term placement, these carers are empowered. They feel now that, obviously, the other carers, we were there for them, so they are now there for others that are coming along. And that is a great, it's really, it gives them a lot of confidence and a lot of that it's taken a long time to get to where they are, to feel that way, that they feel that they've got the strength to do that. Because it is a complex area. Kinship care is complex. There's so many dynamics to it, so many different sections of kinship care. When you have the voluntary, the legal stuff where they're going through on supervision orders, where they've been through that system, or very, very vast. So to get you may have many varieties of kinship carers in one room, and to what would be adaptable to one won't be to another. So it's about getting an understanding. That's taken a lot of them, about 4 or 5 years to get that. But we're getting the benefits from that, and other carers are getting the benefits from that as it's being passed on. We encourage them to get involved in activities. We do the wellbeing and training and things like that to try and help. We get involved with a lot of other organisations who are willing to come on board and provide training and provide things like, Christmas parties, Easter eggs. Next week, my house is like a chocolate factory now. But and the other thing that we've started over a year ago, which was very much needed, because believe it or not, we were getting a lot of kids, a lot of carers that were coming and saying, the kid doesn't have a bed. And we were startled as to know, why would they not have a bed? Why, if they've come through the system?